I am going to be straight with you from the very beginning. There is no gentle lead-in here. There is no false comfort of any kind. Only the truth. Direct. And sometimes very painful. If you are sitting here watching this video, I suspect you are already familiar with a certain kind of quiet pain. The kind that has no clear name. The kind you cannot talk about with your friends. Cannot mention to your co-workers. And certainly cannot say out loud to the person lying beside you every night. You are living in a sexless marriage. And you are dying on the inside while nobody around you has any idea. I am a woman who has seen this. Not from books. Not from theory. I have seen it from the men in my own life. From conversations that happened late at night. From long messages that men did not know where else to send. And from men over the age of 45 living right here in America, carrying their families and their careers on their shoulders, but coming home to emptiness every single evening. Today I am speaking on behalf of those men. Let me begin with a scientific truth. In 2013, psychologist Naomi Eisenberger at UCLA published an important study. She demonstrated that the human brain processes social rejection using the same neural regions as physical pain. The same region, the same signal intensity. When you are rejected, your brain cannot distinguish between emotional injury and physical injury. It only registers one thing, pain. Now multiply that. Not once, not 10 times, but hundreds of times, across many years. That is the life of so many men I know. What does society teach men about this need? Society says, keep quiet. Do not make a big deal of it. Society says, be more romantic. Society says, do more chores around the house, wash more dishes. And traditional marriage counselors are not much better. They offer advice that sounds kind on the surface. But what they are really telling men is, try to buy back what should have been a natural connection. That is not a solution. That is a trap. When you do household chores in exchange for closeness, you are no longer a husband. You become a hired hand inside your own home. And nothing kills desire faster than the feeling that you are begging for it. But before we go any further, I need to be very clear about something. This video is not for men who are violent. Not for men who control, coerce, or manipulate. Forcing intimacy is a crime. No exceptions, no justifications. But here is what very few people are willing to say plainly. Using rejection as a weapon is also a harmful act. Consistently ignoring the physical and emotional needs of your partner is also a form of harm. It just does not leave bruises on the skin. We have to call it what it actually is. It is starvation. Now let me show you what is truly happening. I call these the 5 signs of a marriage that is slowly dying. The first sign is intimacy being used as a weapon. Do any of these sound familiar? Finish this first and then we will see. Or why do you never think about what I need? This is no longer love. This is a transaction. Intimacy has become a reward. And you have become the one chasing that reward. Every day. Every week. For years. Stop and be honest with yourself. Are you living inside that loop right now? The second sign is the roommate trap. The two of you still sleep in the same bed, still eat at the same table, still drive the kids to school together. But inside, there is an enormous distance. You no longer look at her the way a husband looks at his wife. You look at her the way you would look at someone you share a living space with. Nothing more. She becomes invisible to you in the strangest way. Even when she is sitting right there, you feel completely alone. The third sign is what I call the rejection record. I have met men who keep a journal, not a journal about their lives, a journal about the times they were turned away. 200 rejections for every 2 times they were allowed closeness. They did not write it down because they were losing their minds. They wrote it down because they needed proof that they were not losing their minds, proof that what they were feeling was real, that their longing was legitimate. Every single refusal is not just a physical rejection. It is a cut into the deepest part of a man's soul. The fourth sign is defensive withdrawal. This is what happens after hundreds of rejections. You stop initiating. You stop touching her. You stop hugging. You stop reaching for her hand. You stop bringing gifts. You stop showing care. Not because your love ran out, but because your brain has learned a painful lesson. Reaching out equals the risk of being hurt. And so, it protects you by shutting your emotions down. This is the most dangerous moment. Because once that withdrawal is complete, the marriage is nothing more than an outer shell. The fifth sign is biochemical starvation, and this is the part that almost nobody talks about. Your body is being deprived of what it actually needs. Not in a moral sense. In a purely biological sense. Let me speak plainly about the science. When your body experiences rejection on a chronic basis, cortisol spikes. Cortisol is the stress hormone, and when it stays elevated over months and years, the damage is not only in your mind. Your testosterone drops. Oxytocin, the hormone of bonding and trust, begins to run dry. Your immune system weakens. Your sleep quality declines. Belly fat accumulates. Your risk of insulin resistance increases. Chronic fatigue becomes your normal baseline. You are not just sad. You are aging faster than you should be. Your body is absorbing the physical consequences of a marriage where the connection has been severed. And the most heartbreaking part of all is this. You are still pretending that everything is fine. Still going to work. Still paying the bills. Still smiling in the family photos. Now I want to talk about what I believe is the most painful thing of all. A sexless marriage does not only take your health. It attacks your identity as a man at its core. In evolutionary biology, there is a concept called gatekeeping, the role a woman holds over physical connection within a couple. When the only woman in your life consistently rejects you, your brain does not translate that message as "not tonight." Your brain translates it as "you are not good enough." Your brain translates it as "you are a failure." And because the brain cannot separate those two things, that rejection seeps into every corner of your life. Into the conference room, into the time you spend playing with your children, into the face you see looking back at you every morning in the mirror. Your confidence does not collapse from one big event. It erodes day by day, through each small refusal, accumulating over many years. I want to be very clear about something here. The solution is not blaming your wife. The solution is not anger. The solution is not walking out the door immediately. Most women do not intentionally weaponize rejection. They are carrying their own weight too. Exhaustion, having felt overlooked themselves, wounds that never fully healed, a long stretch of emotional disconnection. And this is the most important thing I want you to hear. In most cases, when physical closeness dies, it is a symptom, not the cause. Something broke before that. A distance formed long before the intimacy disappeared. Physical intimacy is simply the last place where that distance becomes the most visible. But that does not mean you have to keep suffering in silence. So what do you actually do now? Not the cute little steps from a lifestyle magazine, but real steps. For real men, facing a real problem. The first step is reestablishing safety, not just for her, for both of you. Set aside 15 minutes every day just to talk. Not about intimacy, not about money, not about work or the children. Just two people sitting together and looking at each other like human beings. Listening. Asking about the small things. Finding again the person you once wanted to give your entire life to. This sounds minor. It is not. This is the first step toward rebuilding a foundation that has been eaten away for years. The second step is connecting without any expectation attached. This is genuinely difficult for the male brain, especially for a man who has been rejected hundreds of times. But try this. Hold her hand for 30 seconds. Give her a real hug and go no further. Expect nothing more from it. The only purpose is to retrain your brain so that reaching for your wife does not automatically end in rejection and pain. The third step is speaking directly, not pleading, not applying pressure, but clearly, calmly, and honestly. Say, I need physical connection to feel close to you. This is not a demand. This is a real biological need. Say it plainly. No hedging. No apologizing for having that need in the first place. A mature man does not beg, but a mature man also does not stay silent until everything falls apart. The fourth step is redesigning the vision together. That sounds dry. But here is the truth. Spontaneity in a marriage of many years has long since passed. especially when you are over 45, carrying work, children, financial pressure, and dozens of other responsibilities. Spontaneity is a luxury for people without obligations. Adults make plans, schedule time for intimacy, treat it with the same seriousness you would give any important meeting. Say to each other, "We need to find our way back to each other, and we are going to do that with intention." And now I want to speak directly to the men who have read this far. The men who are past 45, who have carried their families, who have worked hard, who have tried to be a good husband, a good father, and who still come home to emptiness. You are not crazy. Your feelings are not excessive. Your needs are not something to be ashamed of. But silence will not fix any of this. Silence only makes the distance wider. Silence only wears you down further. Silence only teaches your children that this is what a marriage is supposed to look like. I have seen men come through this, not by leaving, not by getting angry, but by having the courage to look the truth straight in the face, by opening their mouths and saying what they had kept locked inside for years, by deciding that the rest of their lives deserved to be lived more fully than this. And I have also seen marriages that seemed completely dead come back to life, not because of any miracle, but because two people decided to be honest with each other for the first time in years. But all of it begins with one question, the only question you need to ask yourself tonight, when you lie down and stare up at the ceiling in the dark. How many years have you already spent living inside that silence? And how many more years are you willing to let pass the same way?